Hello, everyone. Another book review from me, and I want to tell you about a book that has made quite an impression on me. It's called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, Close Encounters with Addiction. And it's by a guy called Gabor Mate, who is a best-selling author. Gabor Mate is basically a former doctor who was a primary care physician, or in UK we'd call it a GP, and he then started working with in the realm of palliative care, so people who are basically dying. He then left that and started working with drug addicts in a really rundown area in Vancouver, in Canada, and he basically worked with them. And this is essentially about that work. I've got to say something more about Gabor Mate. Gabor Mate is he's a survivor of the Holocaust. His parents were both in Auschwitz. I'm not sure if they actually survived. I'm not 100% sure about that. But he managed to survive, and I think he survived because he was kind of given away to some neighbours. And he then eventually made his way to Canada. And he's originally, like I said, he's from Hungary. So, yeah, I mean, if you watch some of Gabor Mate's stuff on TV or on the video on YouTube, he's just, he's somebody who's had a real profound effect on me. He's somebody who's, I would say, has an incredible wisdom. And I actually wrote somewhere and I said that, he's the kind of guy who's so wise that he makes my teeth ache. And you can see it even when he just talks. That wisdom comes out. But anyway, back to this book. This is a book he wrote called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, Close Encounters with Addiction. And I can say that, as somebody who's had to work with drug addicts as well, he completely changed the way that I think about drug addiction. And with most issues with drug addiction, the way that in the past people looked at drug addiction it was about the actual addictive substance. And in this, he really gets you to the point where he's almost not interested in the addictive substance itself. But it's all about what's been the pain or the trauma, as he calls it, that has led people to search out an addictive substance to soothe themselves. So it's almost like he makes you think of addiction as something that people use to heal themselves or to soothe themselves. And it's like not looking at that thing, but to look at the pain that's brought about that in the first place. So it's kind of taking it back a few steps, taking it back to basics and looking at that. And really, when that comes down to it, it's all about the meanings we make things mean. And so it's not even about what happened, but it's what is the internal meaning that we made whatever happened mean inside, that meant that created trauma in us. So it's quite deep. But and the other thing that he makes you realize is that everybody's an addict. Everybody's addicted to something, because there's something that we are, and we're kind of addicted with something. We all have some trauma, and then we hold on to something to soothe ourselves. And then at some point we realize what the actual pain was. And then when we deal with that, or we realize, or we transform and look at the meaning of that, then we let go of that, and the addictive thing just goes. And there was a very interesting thing that he talked about, experiment, which has been brought up a few times before, called Rat Park. Some of you might have heard of that. And it's where they had this rat, addicted rats, and they would carry on taking the dropper with some morphine in it or something. And then what they did was they put the rats, some of the rats, into kind of like a rat park where they had little rat circles to go on, and they were able to interact with other rats and have rat sex and all that kind of stuff. And then what happened was they looked and they kept the morphine dropper there. And what they found was that the rats didn't bother with the morphine dropper. And I think that was an interesting point that he said that the difference between addiction and sobriety is the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. So it's all about making those connections. And he starts off with his work speaking to people, addicts in this hotel in Vancouver, and he gives you these horrible stories, and you can see that he's giving these people a time to talk, and he really deeply listens to them, and you get to the point that there was something in their past that was the pain that caused them to look for drugs or addictive substances to give them that kind of comfort. But yeah, I mean, you realize, and he tells about his own story where he says he's addicted himself, and his addiction was he liked to buy classical music videos. Now, seems a bit funny, and it does, but I think really what he's getting to is that everybody's addicted to something, and it's like trying to look at the events or the trauma that caused that in the first place. And like you said, he goes, in medical schools, trauma is not even taught as a thing. That may be something when you specialize in psychiatry or you go into psychotherapy or counseling. Anyway, as a book, a great read. I couldn't really put this down. It changed the way I look at, the addiction. It changed the way I look at even my life in terms of addiction, because you realize that everybody's addicted to something, even if it's the pursuit of power or wealth or acclaim or something like that. We've all got addictions, and he does, and it makes you then take the shame out of it. Because I found that then when I talk to addicts, I did talk differently to them. Suddenly it wasn't like, poor this person, and you got to look at their addictive substance and minimum. It's actually listening to them as human beings to see what their story is, and trying to deal with that. So, like I said, this is a guy, very well written, really enjoyable read. Even if you're not involved in healthcare professions, great book to read. You will learn a lot just about human nature. As I said, Gabor Mate, guy I have a lot of respect for. Read some of his other stuff. A lot of deep wisdom there. And I think he's somebody who's gone from being a GP to, doing work, whatever it is, with the palliative care people, and then, with drug addicts. He's almost become this kind of spiritual kind of teacher, which, is kind of amazing. And I've seen this guy, he's been to Glasgow a few times. He came to Glasgow, I think, before COVID. And there were like 2,000 people that came to see him at the Opera House. A lot of people love listening to him. He's written stuff now and talked about the Middle East and the Palestinian Israeli issue as well. And I think he's going to become a big voice in that as well. So definitely fantastic book. He's written other books about ADHD. He's written about books about the causes of the effects of stress and the causes on ill health. Really good stuff. In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, Close Encounters with Addiction. And by the way, the whole point of In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts is that in Buddhist mythology, or there's this idea that these hungry ghosts who have, I think it's that they have very small mouths or something, or small arms but big bellies, and they can never get enough of whatever it is to satisfy them. So they're always going around unsatisfied. And I think that's why he called it In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, that these people who try to crave whatever that vacuum is, that void is in their life through this addiction, it's never enough, because and actually they're not dealing with the actual issue underneath it all. So anyway, I hope you like, and I like he's got the chains on the front. I suppose that's about breaking the chains of addiction, which it is like. Great book. Really enjoyed this book, In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, Close Encounters with Addiction. Very much recommend it for anyone to just understand more about human nature. And if you are in the healthcare professions, definitely a book to read. And actually just for anybody, because we're all addicted to something, and to understand that better and to deal with that, this is a great book to read. Hope you enjoyed that, and hope you're all having a great June, and hopefully out of lockdown soon, at least in the UK anyway, and maybe hear from you all soon. Take care. Bye.